As you're moving your workloads from on-prem to Azure, you still need the same level of enterprise-grade load balancing, application security, and monitoring features. At the same time, you do not want to give up on the cloud-native automation, the flexibility, and the scalability that Azure provides. That's where Avi Vantage comes in. Avi Vantage provides enterprise-grade application delivery, load balancing, security, and monitoring solutions with cloud-native automation that's built in. You get the same as-a-service experience with enterprise-grade features. This is a win-win, as I call it. In addition, you get real-time monitoring and analytics that no other solution provides today. And Avi is the only true multi-cloud solution that you can use it in Azure, as well as on-prem, and maybe even other public clouds, with a consistent set of features, capabilities, functionalities, and centralized management. Let's focus on the enterprise-grade features. Avi is a full-featured load balancing solution that provides layer 7, layer 4 load balancing, global server load balancing, content switching, caching, compression, and auto-scaling, something that you can find only in public cloud. It's available both in public cloud and on-prem. Avi is a full-featured security solution from web application firewall to SSL offload, DDoS detection and mitigation, layer 7 and layer 4 policies, and even microsegmentation in container environments. These are the features that you're used to in your load balancers or security solutions. But on top of that, Avi provides real-time application and network performance monitoring with security insights, with log analytics, with application-level health score that's available to you as an integrated solution, not a separate product, not any agents that you have to deploy. And finally, Avi is a truly centralized platform with centralized management, 100% REST APIs, with automation that's built in out of the box, with self-service capabilities and multi-tenancy that's built in. Let's now focus on how Avi disrupted the market with the next generation application delivery solution. What Avi did was it fundamentally built a new architecture. If you look at a traditional load balancer appliances, you deploy them as active standby pairs. If you look under the hood, there is a control/management plane, and then there's a data plane, all built into a single monolithic appliance. Avi completely changed that by having centralized control and management plane into what we call Avi Controller, and a distributed data plane, what we call Avi Service Engines. The controller is the brain of the system. That's where all the policy resides. That's where all the decisions are made about where to spin up another load balancer, where to place a VIP, when to scale out, when to scale in, to do auto healing of the load balancers or the service engines. That's a single REST API endpoint where all the automation is built on top of. The service engines, the data plane engines, is where all the load balancing happens, all the SSL processing happens. And these are lightweight, stateless service engines that can do very high performance load balancing functionality. So that's the first thing that we do differently. The second thing that we did differently was universal applicability. The same service engine can be deployed as a bare metal server, as a VM, as a Docker container, on-prem, or any public cloud, Azure, AWS, Google, and so on. It's a software solution, which means it can be packaged in different form factor, but you get the same level of features and capabilities regardless of where your workloads are running, all centrally managed by Avi Controller. In addition to doing load balancing, because these service engines sit in line with the traffic, it's a very strategic location, by the way, they see all the traffic that's going through them, and they collect hundreds of logs and metrics every minute. Massage it, push it up to the controller, and then controller not only gives you a pretty dashboard, but also uses that information to make automated changes, such as auto-scaling, auto-healing, and so on. And the controller does this automation by integrating out of the box with orchestration solutions, such as VMware vCenter, or OpenStack, or OpenShift Kubernetes, or public cloud APIs from Amazon EC2 to Azure, and so on. And it does that out of the box. And finally, a common misperception is that you need dedicated hardware for high performance. Well, that's absolutely not the case. Avi is a very high performance software load balancer. I'll give you an example. A single vCPU, a single core of processor, can do over 5 gig of raw throughput, a gig of encrypted SSL throughput, and 2500 to 3000 SSL TPS. And it can horizontally scale out to millions of SSL TPS and terabits of throughput. Let's understand how Avi integrates with Azure to provide the level of automation, elasticity, and flexibility in Azure environments. Avi Controller is the central brain of the system that integrates with various Azure components, from VNets to resource groups to Azure DNS and scale sets to IAM roles, and provides a true cloud-native automation for your workloads. Let's look at the demo, but before we do that, let's understand the before and the after experience. Today, for example, for enterprise-grade features, if you consider deploying a legacy vendor's load balancing solution, a virtual edition of a legacy vendor, let's look at the workflow that you have to go through. A user files a ticket for a load balancer, and then you as a network admin, you go in and you manually do the following steps. You first provision the appliance VM. You maybe spin up a second one for HA. You connect the VNICs to the right port groups or the right networks in Azure to make sure that the connectivity is established. Then you decide you place a virtual service or a VIP on the right set of load balancers to make sure the capacity is handled. You give it an IP address through IPAM. You publish that entry in the DNS. And then you maybe install extra tools for monitoring the performance. And then you have to decide when to scale these load balancers out or scale the applications out, all of that manually. It might take days or even weeks for you to bring your application up with the load balancer in front of it. Compare that experience to what Avi does. There's an easy button, either through a single API or a click of a UI. If the application admin himself or herself, or you as a network admin, can basically click that button and Avi Controller takes care of everything, from spinning up the Avi service engine to making sure that the availability zones are handled, so deploy multiple instances for HA, to connecting the network, to placing the virtual service, to configuring the HA, to making sure the analytics is in place, to scaling out both the applications and the load balancers on demand. Completely automated.